You want the truth? Moving back to South Florida nearly broke me, financially and mentally. Yeah, I've got great ocean views, well, maybe except for today, it's a little cloudy, but I also battled insane insurance hikes, got absolutely blindsided by flood zone changes, and had moments where I seriously questioned if I had really made the biggest mistake of my life. But I didn't leave, and there's a reason why. So if you're thinking about making the move, or already planning it, don't guess your way through it, because what I'm about to share with you could save you thousands of dollars, months of frustration, and one of the biggest regrets of your life. Keep watching, because knowing what's really happening down here is the difference between thriving in paradise and enjoying this every single day, and making a move you can't undo. Let's hit pause for a second though, because before all the chaos, before the curveballs, there's a reason people absolutely fall in love with this place. And this is probably just one of the hundreds. You picture it, right? The first drive along the beach, windows down, the sun is shining, the tank is clean. I mean, ocean on one side, the skyline on the other. It really feels like you've made it. South Florida sells that dream hard, and I bought in fully. And for a little while, it 100% delivered. But that version of life down here comes with an expiration date. And when it does end, things get real fast. I'm talking flooded streets, canceled policies, and neighborhoods that feel like they're absolutely aging in dog years. But that's where we're going next. The stuff that actually hit me the hardest, even growing up here. The part no one puts on a postcard, but you better know before you actually make the move. Now let's talk about the stuff that doesn't show up in the real estate brochures, like that. And I'm not talking about water fountains, I'm talking about the water and flooding. Because when you move to South Florida, the weather just doesn't affect your wardrobe. It dictates your entire lifestyle, your home search, and ultimately your wallet. Sure, we can all expect hurricanes down here. That's honestly part of the deal. But in 2025, it's not the wind or the rain that's wrecking people, it's the aftermath. Insurance companies are bailing on South Florida like it's a sinking ship. Premiums have doubled or even tripled in places like that of Lighthouse Point, Coral Ridge, and obviously parts of Miami Beach, pretty much anything on or near the water. You'll see two identical houses on the same street, one without a $6,500 annual premium, the other quoted at $15,000. Why? Partly because of the FEMA updated the flood map, and now one of them sits in a moderate risk zone. It happened to some friends of mine in Pompano. No flood damage, no claims, literally nothing. Still got a non-renewal notice out of nowhere, and they were absolutely pissed. They scrambled to get new coverage, and the only policy we could find them came with a bigger deductible, less protection, and nearly double the price. And they're not even waterfront, and they're pretty updated home for the most part, besides the roof. Meanwhile, in East Fort Lauderdale, my buddy is looking at lifting up his seawall because the city is making him due to the rising tides, especially with king tides, and it helps keep his insurance that really won't eat his entire mortgage. It's not about the insurance, but these climate shifts are actively reshaping the map of where people are buying. Buyers who once only wanted to be within a mile of the ocean or pretty much walkable areas like that at Del Rey, Lauderdale by the Sea, maybe even East Boca, are now looking west into Plantation, Davie, West Boca, maybe even Coral Springs, where you can still find a newer construction, 4-bedroom home, about a 7,000 square foot lot, around the $850,000 mark with way more stability in your insurance policy. But even those decisions require serious planning because hot elevation, roof age, window type, and plumbing are now just as important as the location. We literally had a buyer last week where the first thing we looked at before going to see anything was if it had a new roof, impact windows, and if the pipes had been relined. A single-story home in Wilton Manors, even a couple blocks from the water, could run you about $12,000 to $15,000 a year in insurance if it hasn't been retrofitted. And if you're not sure how this plays out block by block, that's exactly where we chip in. My team lives here and does this every single day. We know exactly which areas are being hit the hardest and which ones are smart buys, even with the climate and insurance curveballs. If you're thinking about relocating or investing here, reach out. Our info's in the description and on the screen. South Florida isn't just about being reshaped by weather. It's being reshaped by people. Think about it. Who's coming, who's leaving, who's fitting in, and ultimately who isn't. And that can change your entire experience once you land here. Now, this is the part no one talks about when they romanticize South Florida. It's not the weather, it's not the traffic, it's the weird moment, usually around like months 3 or 4, when you look around and realize, I don't think I speak this city's language yet. Y no estoy hablando de español, even though it does seem like everyone here does speak Spanish. Everyone does speak English as well, depending on where you are in Miami. But for example, in East Fort Lauderdale, you can have neighbors who've lived on the same block since the 80s. They're pretty much the original owners. Meticulous lawns, early bedtimes, church every Sunday. Right next door, vacation rental packed with bachelorette trips, just people hanging out, dragging pretty much inflatables, people across the lawn, and calling Ubers at midnight, people over all the time. Same street, completely different universes. At first it seems funny or cool, but once you live there, it kind of isn't. Start realizing that South Florida isn't just diverse, it's kind of colliding. Every neighborhood is in motion. For example, you go to Little River, there's a guy sweeping his shop stoop by hand that he's done for over 30 years. Then right across from it is the Citadel, where rooftop DJs are playing to crowds all night long with people coming in from conferences, tech things, and pretty much everything you can imagine. Fun fact though, they also have an espresso martini tree, which is one of the best. Nobody's wrong, but nobody's quite aligned either. Same thing in Edgewater. You walk past a $1.5 million condo tower, valet, scent machine in the lobby, really makes it feel like you're at a 5-star resort. Then just down the block, a little Cuban cafe, no sign out front, you'll have the best croquetas you've ever had. One place wants to slow down, the other's kind of trying to speed up and completely change. Then how about Delray? That one's a little bit wild. This is one of the hot spots. Mornings feel like serene, quiet streets, golden light, older couples walking to brunch, people out running. Then by 9 p.m., it's trying to be like Miami Junior in a sense. Scooters all over the place, bars overflowing into the streets, and valet lines outside fancy restaurants. If you bought here 5 years ago for peace and quiet, I guarantee your Friday nights, probably even your Saturday nights, look completely different now, but still much, much more quiet than both Fort Lauderdale and Miami. That's the culture shock no one warned you about though. It's not about the language or the background, it's really about the pace, about the expectation, about whether the community you move into wants the same thing that you do at the end of the day. And when you finally find a pocket that fits, where the barista remembers your name, you drink coffee, where the dog park crew actually shows up at the same time every evening, where no one complains about your cold starts in the morning, because yes, this is a thing, or your Bad Bunny Spotify playlist that you don't understand a word of because some people don't like it apparently. I don't understand the words, but it's still good music. That's when South Florida really becomes yours. Now I'm curious, if you live here or you're planning to, what's the one neighborhood where the energy just feels right? Drop it in the comments. I really want to know where you kind of feel locked in or where it's starting to feel a little bit off, because finding your rhythm here is one thing. A whole other beast is actually keeping it, especially when the temperature starts to hit the triple digits, like it will today probably, humidity is a wall, and the storms start rolling in. That's a whole different story. Nobody warns you about this. They talk about the beaches, the palm trees, the endless sun, the sun-kissed skin, but if you're not from here, you have no idea what's waiting for you once pretty much like the end of April and then May rolls into June, and the real South Florida starts to show. It's brutal. Because there are 3 seasons down here. There's snowbird season, which is actually kind of nice. Hurricane season, which isn't that bad. And then there's this one, the local one, the one we're in right now, the 3rd season. And it hits different. I mean, just look at me right now. I'm freaking sweating. Picture this. It's 7 a.m. in the morning in Fort Lauderdale. You're already sweating through your shirt, walking the dog before work. And the sidewalk feels like you're trying to cook your sneakers or even eggs. By 2 to 3 p.m., the blue postcard version of Florida is gone. Clouds roll in, lightning's cracking out of nowhere, and suddenly your entire street's under an inch of water. 30 minutes later, it's all dry again, like nothing even happened. Not a cloud in the sky. I remember trying to grab lunch one afternoon at Flanagan's in Pompano, that one right there on the beach, got caught in one of those flash downpours, absolutely got poured on. I couldn't see 5 feet in front of me. Parking lot was absolutely flooded, shoes got soaked, and inside the restaurant, it was filled with tables that were just people toweling off from the rain and pretty much the beach, laughing, enjoying a beer like this is totally normal. And honestly, it is. That's the one part no one talks about. You don't beat the heat here. You start to adapt to it. You grocery shop at 9 p.m. or 7 a.m. because it's finally cool enough to breathe, you're not sweating your butt off. You find time to take your beach trips at sunrise, not noon. Only the tourists go around noon so they can just bake in the sun like a rotisserie chicken. And you absolutely learn which coffee shops and gyms crank their AC the coldest. Shout out to Crema pretty much all over South Florida for basically doubling as a walk-in fridge all summer. You also start to notice who sticks around and who doesn't. It starts to get kind of quiet. Locals quietly dip out to Asheville, the Bahamas, the Hamptons, maybe even Park City for a couple months to really cool off, while others bunker down and ultimately make it work. Blackout curtains iced everything, and hurricane parties where the grill gets fired up the second the shutters go on. Your first summer here might feel like a full body ambush. You'll second guess your decision. You'll Google things like, is it normal to sweat while brushing your teeth at 10 p.m. at night? But then something shifts. You get used to driving with a beach towel on your seat, especially after workout or an early morning pickleball session. You start checking the weather because it's gonna rain either way. And one day you realize you kind of like it. That slow, swampy, weird rhythm, it starts to feel like home. It's honestly not that bad though. If your AC is losing the fight, and you're thinking, can I actually live here full time? Reach out. I've been through it, trust me. My team helps people navigate it every single day. Trust me, you're not crazy and you're not alone. You're just in the 3rd season, and it doesn't last that long, because if you can't handle this part, you're not really living in South Florida at the end of the day. But even if you're cool with the heat, the humidity, and the sideways rain you can't see through, there's still one big question hanging over a lot of new residents right now. did I get in at the right time, or is this market about to flip on me? People still come here even after hearing all the warnings, not because they're naive, but because they're after something their last city really couldn't give them. Think about this. I worked with a family from Chicago a couple months ago. 2 kids, both parents working remote. They were done with the cold and the grind. Now they live in a beautiful home in Coconut Creek, and their mornings start with a bike ride to the promenade, then grab breakfast at Ethos, let the kids run through the splash pad, maybe even catch a movie when the afternoon rain shows up. They didn't move for palm trees. They moved because their weekends finally feel like they belong to them. It's not just sitting inside freezing their butt off. Then there's a woman who I helped settle into Lauderdale by the sea. She left DC after a decade in high-rise silence, everyone pretty much minding their own business, no one making any eye contact. I don't know how people do that. Now she's in the neighborhood with sidewalk chatter, local coffee shops like these, happy hours, walks to the beach, and a gym where the instructors actually know her name. She actually loves solid core. Parkland is another story. Bigger lots, slower pace, front porches with fans spinning. One couple moved there from New York and said it's the first time they've ever actually let their kids play out front without hovering, which is wild to even think about. They still have jobs that move fast, but their environment doesn't match that pressure anymore. It's kind of nice, and that contrast is what keeps them sane at the end of the day. These aren't just one-off stories. This is a pattern. People move here not because it's perfect, but because it gives them back something that they lost in some of these bigger cities or colder states. Room to breathe, time outside, neighbors who wave, routines that aren't ruled by rush hours or frozen sidewalks. And if you're looking at your own life and how little of it you actually get to enjoy at the end of the day, and wondering if South Florida might be the shift you've been needing, number one, it probably is, but talk to us. There's not one size fits all answer here, but I can tell you exactly where this lifestyle still works. That is, if the market hasn't already outrun your timing. Look, nobody moves here thinking that they'll need to rewire how they live. But if you stick around long enough, you'll learn fast. This place doesn't run on routine, pretty much just runs on rhythm. For example, in Victoria Park, people don't carry umbrellas. What? Carry beach towels. Not for the beach, but for the soggy seats, sweaty backs, and the surprise cloudburst that turns sidewalks into slip and slides. It's honestly why we're inside right now. Honestly though, skimboarding at Bayview Park after it rains is a ton of fun. It's something we used to do all the time and probably still will. They know the game, they run errands before 9, walk the dog after pretty much 8 o'clock after it gets dark, and keep an eye on the sky, always. Then there's also this one block over in Dania that lives like they've already seen the worst case scenario. Most of them already have. Spot sandbags year-round, AC units raised up like appliances on pedestals, and flood vents built into the landscaping. These aren't doomsday preppers, they're just people who got tired of dealing with everything that's happened and calling their insurance adjusters every October. Storm prep isn't a panic event. In Coral Springs, for example, there's an entire neighborhoods that transform the minute something comes around the corner. There's neighborhood group chats that run hotter than any HOA thread I've ever seen. People trade ice, offer up freezer space, and even roll out extra power cords across driveways. One guy in my parents' neighborhood actually barbecues for the entire block when power goes out. Knock on wood, hasn't been in a while. And then one of the most dialed in people I've ever met actually lives in Boca. She's a painter, and her whole studio runs like a bunker during storm season. The lights never flicker, the rain pounds, and she just keeps working away like it's a normal Tuesday, because for her, it pretty much is. Having a generator does help though. That's one of those permanent ones, and you'll notice everyone needs a generator. This is what adapting looks like here. It's not glamorous, but it's smart, it's flexible, and if you can make peace with that, if you can stop fighting for control and start building your days around what it is instead of what it should be, you're going to last a lot longer than most people do. Think about it. This lifestyle isn't for everyone, and that's exactly what we help you sort through. Not just where to live, but how to live here without losing your rhythm and ultimately your sanity. Because once you get your mind around the rhythm, the math becomes your next test. And don't worry, it's an easy test. And the market right now, let's just say it's not really waiting for anyone to catch up. So was it a mistake? Let me tell you what it looked like for people who thought they had it all figured out. One family I worked with settled into a brand new home in Avenir in Palm Beach Gardens. Honestly, the community is beautiful. On paper, it checked every box. New school, walkable trails, fresh, brand new construction. Honestly, sweet, like I said. But the surprise came fast. Within about 18 months, their homeowner's insurance had doubled. No storm, no claim, just a recalculated risk score. They were ready to walk until their neighbors stepped in. Now that same family helps organize hurricane prep meetups in the clubhouse, rotates school pickups with a couple other families, and even says Sunday potlucks have done more for their sanity than the square footage ever could have, which is surprising to think of. Then over here in Rio, a couple bought into that waterfront lifestyle everyone absolutely dreams about. But by their second season, the king tides were creeping up the driveway and they didn't pack it in. They retrofitted the home, they installed flood vents, elevated the seawall, even lifted some of the mechanicals. They now kayak from the dock at sunrise and host cookouts under the pergola engineered to survive a Category 3. Some of these new pergolas are insane. They'll be the first to tell you though, peace of mind here doesn't come standard. You build it. And sometimes it just doesn't work. A guy I met in Brickell moved into a luxury high-rise expecting instant connection. Everything he saw on Instagram looked sweet, but the building felt sterile. The amenities impersonal. 4 months in, he said, it's like I moved into someone else's Instagram feed. And honestly, kind of did. He up and left before the lease was up, moving to something he actually wanted to live in. So, is moving to South Florida a mistake? If you're chasing a lifestyle someone else promised you or something that you see on YouTube or Instagram, maybe. But if you're building your own pace, your own rhythm, your own definition of enough, it might just be the smartest, boldest thing you ever do. Not sure which side of that line you fall on though? That's where we come in. We don't just help you land the right property, we ultimately help you figure out if this lifestyle actually fits the way that you want to live. For me, it was never about the palm trees or the patios, which are kind of nice. It was about waking up and feeling alive at the end of the day. But all that depends on one thing, where you land and when. Because the market, it's not exactly slowing down to wait for you. Let's get into what the numbers are really saying and where you still have some leverage in South Florida's 2025 housing market. Now I'm gonna be real with you. You can only learn so much from a highlight reel because the real decision, the one that matters, isn't just about whether South Florida looks good on paper. Spoiler, it does. It's about whether your life actually works here when the cameras are off and the summer's long and freaking hot. That doesn't come from just guessing. It comes from knowing what it's really like to live, for example, off Griffin Road near Old Town Davie, which is sweet, or how the breeze changes in Pinecrest once those afternoon rains hit, or why people in Parkland drive just a little bit further just to get the space and calm that they couldn't find out east. That's what we help with every single day. Not just the where, but the how. We show you what questions to ask about flood maps in Coral Gables, why a pre-2010 roof might get flagged by insurers in just pretty much anywhere here in South Florida, and where you can still find a fixer-upper in Lighthouse Point without bidding against 10 investors or breaking the bank. Reach out to our team, we'll walk you through it like someone who's actually done it, not just sold it. Our information is on the screen and in the description down below. We do this every single day. And if you're still in the research phase, it's actually smart. We built a playlist for people just like you, locals, relocators, and reset seekers who want to compare neighborhoods without all the fluff. You want to know what it's really like here. Tap that playlist and start narrowing your list by what actually fits your life that you want to live. This isn't just a move. It's your next version. Let's make sure it's built to last and you end up staying here. I appreciate you being here. I'll catch you in the next video.